Greetings, everybody. This is Jesse here. I'm gonna try to come up here and do videos once in a while amidst doing my broadcast. A lot of this stuff I'm going to be covering in my next end time current event study, but I wanted to bring some stuff to your attention, okay? Because I know a lot of people are just so pro-Israel and so this, and you really got to understand. I mean, especially the governments, and even the government of Palestine and the government of Israel. You got to understand. On the surface, yeah, it looks like they're neck and neck, and they're bombing the bejeezies out of each other, and it's not right for Israel to go after Palestine. Not right, but you got to understand something. Both of them are in both these governments and the leaders are in high-level government, and they belong to the same order of things. They are all working for a common agenda, and it's all really a psyop to keep you distracted over one thing over the other. Now, one must keep in mind that, yes, I do believe that the Bible said that they were to be brought back in their own land and these types of things, okay? I'm speaking of the Jews, but guess what? They're not all over there. They're still scattered. And on top of that, these Jews are being brought back in unbelief. And I'm not saying there isn't Jews getting saved, okay? But they have to get saved the same way we do. They don't get they don't get a special pass because they're Jews. God is not a respecter of persons. Now, speaking of Israel, and speaking of the leader of Israel, Netanyahu, okay, and people like John Hagee and Ahmadinejad and the one that passed away, Yasser Arafat, okay? I want to take you to something here. This is an initial list of 33-degree Freemasons, okay? I'm sure they've added more to the list by now, okay? But this is Albert Pike addressing the 23 Supreme Councils of the world on July 4th, 1889. And it says, quote, "To you, sovereign grand instructors general, we say this, that you may repeat it to the brethren of the 32nd, 31st, and 30th degree." Meaning, you can't openly acknowledge what your doctrine is to the lower degrees past 30. Once you can't tell anybody to the 29th and below. The Masonic religion should be, by all of us initiates of the high degrees, maintained in the purity of the Luciferian doctrine. Okay? Luciferian doctrine. Now, this is why I say that, yes, out in the open, yes, it doesn't look good. It's, oh, we got to bless Israel and these types of things. The government's corrupt over there, okay? The government's corrupt, and there's plenty of Jews that have not accepted Christ, and they need to, and they will, and I will get to that point in a minute when I get to the scriptures, because I also want to prove a point in there, too. Okay, so they have to maintain the purity of the Luciferian doctrine. Well, okay, I want you to look at something. See this right here? Yasser Arafat, 33rd degree Freemason, right there. Of course, he's passed away now. Okay, I want you to look at other ones. Karl Marx, he was a bad dude. Reverend William Booth of the Salvation Army. Let's see, who's another one? Kenneth Copeland, Walt Disney, Newt Gingrich, Al Gore, Billy Graham, Kenneth Hagin. Billy Graham is a 33rd degree Freemason. Now, okay, I mentioned Arafat. Now I'm going to take you right over. Where's he at? Right there. Benjamin Netanyahu. The ones that all the Christians are saying, oh, just because he's Israel, you've got to bless him and everything. Like, well, you know what? He's a 33rd degree Freemason, guys. I'm sorry, but this is the point I'm trying to make. Palestine, 33rd degree Freemason. Israel, 33rd degree Freemason. And guess what? Abbas is linked up with that too. You know, the current one. Okay. And then you have Ahmadinejad. You know, so, I mean, the Freemasons want a new world order. Okay. I'm going to take you to this right here. This is from Cutting Edge. Okay. Freemasonry connection with a new world order. Over the centuries since 1717, when Freemasonry as it now exists was born, many authors have written against this society, alleging that Freemasonry is a counterfeit Christian organization. Some authors have even gone to the extreme of alleging that Freemasonry is of the Antichrist. Many other authors wholly defended Freemasonry, contending that it is Christian and that it upholds the Holy Bible and its teachings. Rather than relying upon the testimony of former Freemasonry members, we will go right to the source books themselves, published by Masonic publishers. We will examine the writings of Freemasonry leaders like Albert Pike, Norman Frederick Clifford, C.W. Ledbetter, Henry Agrippa, T. Whitten Davies, so on, so on, so on, Albert Mackey, Sir Walter Scott, okay? So, we're going to compare the Masonic teachings from the above authors with what the Holy Bible teaches. God has repeatedly taught that we must weigh that what someone is telling us against the clear teachings of the Bible. The Apostle John, written under the direction of the Holy Spirit, warned us in 1 John 4:1, "Beloved, believe not every spirit, but try the spirits whether they are of God, because many false prophets are gone out into the world." Okay, therefore we can let Freemasonry speak of itself. Okay, now I'm going to go over some quotes here. Masonry inculcates its old doctrine and no more, that God is one. Okay, Albert Pike. Morals Dogma, 576, Teachings of the 26th degree. God in the view of Pythagoras was one. Albert Pike, Morals and Dogma, 667, Teaching of the 27th degree. Okay. Let's take another one. On page 568, Pike denies specifically that Jesus is the second person of the Trinity. He, Jesus, like all souls, was of the same substance with God, a manifestation of the divinity, not forming a second person. Okay? In all ways you want to count, Freemasonry doctrine satisfies the Bible definition of the spirit of Antichrist. Okay, and Netanyahu and Yasser Arafat and all of these world leaders and stuff like that, they are Masons. Okay, they are high degree Masons, so they are spirit of Antichrist. I'm sorry, but I mean that's just the way it is. Therefore, we should not be surprised when other New World Order leaders like Alice Bailey and Foster Bailey boldly state that Freemasonry is one of the major forces which will produce a New Age Christ. Okay. Now, here's something about Yahweh. Quote, "The true name of Satan," the Kabbalists say, "is that of Yahweh, reversed. For Satan is not a black god, but the negation of God. The devil is personification of atheism and idolatry. For the initiates, this is not a person, but a force, created for good, but which may serve for evil." Pike again refers to the infinite God as a mighty cosmic force on page 707. All the ancient mysteries believed in many gods, goddesses, a system of religion. Each nation was conceived as having its own set of such gods, including a supreme god for that nation. Okay, so, and I just read you the 23 Supreme Masonic Councils of the world. So you got to remember, these guys want the same New World Order agenda as Alice Bailey and and these types of New Agers. Okay, I'm trying to make this real quick here. I'm trying to cut to the point. I'll give you all the links so you can look at this stuff yourself. Now, according to the Olympics that's coming up, which starts on the 27th, I found it interesting that I went ahead and looked at the satanic calendar, and I went to July. Now again, I'm going to be covering this in my broadcast in detail, probably my last thing I'm going to do on the Olympics. I am not saying for sure something is going to happen. I'm not saying it's going to be happening. It could be, but I'm not saying it's going to happen. But I do find it interesting that, according to their occult calendar, the 20th through the 27th, which we are in the 24th right now, is a sacrifice preparation. Obviously, they're preparing for the Olympics. Kidnapping, holding, and ceremonial preparation of the person for sacrifice. And then on the 27th is what they call grand climax, okay, which is sexual rituals of female sacrifice, or sacrifice in general. So, again, I'm not saying nothing for sure. I'm not saying for sure something is going to happen. It could happen. Like I said, I'm going to get more into detail with that when we go along. Okay? But I wanted to point this out. Now, Freemasonry, the Illuminati, New Age, they all want their New World Order. Okay? And I'm not giving Islam any credit, because I'll just give you one verse from their Quran, which says, "We will cast terror into the hearts of those who disbelieve for what they have associated with Allah, which He had not sent down in the authority. And their refuge will be the fire, and the wretched is the residence of the wrongdoers." So those who disbelieve, basically disbelieve in their, in Islam, and Allah, and these types of things. Okay, this was from Surah chapter 3, 151. I'll provide a link for that below. I'm just going to read them one verse. I'm trying to prove a point that I'm not picking sides here. I am completely neutral to this thing, because all of these groups are working in common cause for good, rather on the outside it seems like they're against each other. Okay? There's a purpose behind that. We have a possible World War III coming up soon, and I'll get into that in a moment. So, but here's another thing. See, all of these people just like to say, "Oh, bless Israel, they can't do no wrong. Oh, feel sorry for Israel, feel sorry for..." And then you got the other side, we're saying, "Oh, feel sorry for the Muslims," and this, Me, I am neutral. I am completely neutral. I do believe that we are supposed to pray to the Jews and pray that their souls be saved, so that they can inherit and enjoy the peace of the New Jerusalem that is going to come down from heaven onto this earth. Okay? That's what I believe it means when it says pray for the peace of Jerusalem. So, here's another one. Okay? This is from their own newspaper. Okay? This is from their own sources. This is an Israeli newspaper. Israelis flock by the thousands to Tel Aviv's annual Gay Pride Parade. Now, are we just to overlook that and say, "Oh, well, bless the Jews," because they, Speaking at the event attended by thousands of tourists, U.S. Ambassador to Israel, Dan Shapiro, says human rights are gay rights, and gay rights are human rights. You can see two lesbians kissing there. This is in Israel, folks, and this defiles the land. So is this really a holy land, or right now is it an unholy land? You got to remember, in 1948, the Rothschilds created Israel, and they put their hexagram on the flag, and the hexagram is one of the highest occult symbols. Not to mention, you take the first three letters of the hexagram, what is it? It's a hex, which means you're putting a curse on yourself or someone else. We'll get into that more. Thousands of people participated in Tel Aviv's 14th Gay Pride Parade on Friday, including many tourists arrived in Israel to attend the annual Gay Pride week-long events. The parade got underway in Ganmir Park following an event which marked the conclusion of the week-long carnival in Israel's largest city. Among the speakers were top political and municipal officials, top political and municipal officials, including U.S. Ambassador Dan Shapiro. Okay? There's some more pictures. I mean, this is disgusting. This is in Israel. Okay? This is coming straight from their news. They are not hiding any of this stuff. Alright? So I'm trying to keep a balance here. Now, Pike's amazing 3 world wars. Alright? Oh, and before I get into this, I want to take you to this. I'm not going to read the article. I'll provide the link. You can read it yourself. I'll read part of it. Guess what? The Freemasons and the Illuminists want a new world order? Well, so does this guy, Ahmadinejad. Go figure. Calls for a new world order. Okay? Iran's President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad has criticized the current world order as discriminatory and inefficient, calling for a new system based on compassion and justice. Goes on to quote, discrimination and inefficiency in the current world order set by corrupted powers has been proven to the world. And you know what? In the New Agers mindset, the current world order is the age of Pisces. We are going into the age of Aquarius, which is a dawning of a new world order and these types of things. Okay? But here we have Ahmadinejad calling for a new world order. And guess what? Regardless of how you want to spin it, the UN is a corrupt system. Guess who's in the UN? Israel, Palestine, or no, not Palestine, but Israel, Iran, you know. So, I mean, what does that tell you? Okay, on the outside they are opposing as their enemies and stuff like that. But you know what? On the inside, in the esoteric point of view, they are working together to bring about a new world order. They both are doing it. Netanyahu and Ahmadinejad. Alright? There is no difference. I'm telling you. That's the whole Hegelian dialectic. That's the thesis, antithesis. And yeah, one side might sacrifice themselves over the other side, as long as it brings their new world order. I mean, just look at the French Revolution and these types of things. Now, I'm going to take you to this letter from Albert Pike. There's a lot of controversy about it. I understand that. But the way it was written quite clear. And everything that has happened since 1871 has gone exactly how it's gone, according to each world war. Now, I'm just going to read you the Second World War on down. Alright? The Second World War must be fomented by taking advantage of the differences between the fascists and the political Zionists. War must be brought about so that Nazism is destroyed, which happened, and that political Zionism be strong enough to institute a sovereign state of Israel in Palestine, which happened. And who instituted it? Well, the Rothschilds did. Guess what? They're Illuminists. During the Second World War, international communism must become strong enough in order to balance Christendom. Balance Christendom. Basically, get them in the mindset to accept the state of Israel as, you know, this whole grand thing. Now, and basically keep them in check. Keep them unknowing. Just make it look like it's a good thing for them. Okay, it's all about them deceiving you. Now, I believe, again, if you read Ezekiel, I think 31, where it talks about the dry bones, I think that's symbolic because God strictly forbids praying to the dead, or praying to dead bones and these types of things. So I think that is symbolic of them being brought back into their land in unbelief. Dry bones. Okay, spiritually dead, you know, as far as accepting Jesus. But they will. We will get into that. Okay. Now, what I showed you about the whole gay thing, it's no different in Islam. You know, there's pedophiles in Islam, and there's pedophiles in the Jewish religion. All you gotta do is read the Talmud, and you'll be able to get your boat loaded about that. That is their highest source. Now, during the Second World War, international communism must be strong enough in order to balance Christendom, which would be then restrained and held in check until the time when we would need it for the final social cataclysm. You know, try to get these Christians to accept this whole Israeli, this pro-Israel thing, and then we'll throw the doctrine of anti-Semitism in there to where we make it to where it's so hard to not even say anything bad about them until we will need it for the final social cataclysm. Okay? Now, after the Second World War, communism was made strong enough to begin taking over weaker governments in 1945 at the Potsdam Conference between Truman, Churchill, and Stalin. A large portion of Europe was simply handed over to Russia, and on the other side of the world, the aftermath of the war with Japan helped to sweep the tide of communism into China. Now, readers who argue that the terms Nazism and Zionism were not known in 1871, okay, should remember that the Illuminati invented both of these movements. They invented both of these movements, and you know what? Zionism is just a cover of the Illuminati. Okay, it's like shape-shifting, if you will. They kind of work in disguise. But the Illuminati did invent both these movements. In addition, communism as an ideology and as a coined phrase originates in France during the Revolution in 1785. Restif coined the phrase for years before revolution broke out. Restif and Babeuf, in turn, were influenced by Rousseau, as was the most famous conspirator of them all, Adam Weishaupt. Okay? Now, here we are with the Third World War. Alright? Now, I just went over. I'll give you this whole link. This is a pretty interesting article, and you can read all about it. Freemasonry Connection with the New World Order. Title says it all. All you have to do is read it. Okay? They have a connection with the New World Order. Netanyahu is a 33rd degree Freemason. Arafat was a 33rd degree Freemason. Abbas is a 33rd degree Freemason. Okay? Ahmadinejad is calling for a New World Order. I mean, trying to get the picture here. You know, it's not. I'm not cursing the Jews. I'm not doing any of that. As a matter of fact, essentially, they put a curse on themselves, and we'll get into that when we start getting into the scriptures. Okay. Now, the Third World War must be fomented by taking advantage of the differences caused by the agentur of the Illuminati between the political Zionists and the leaders of Islamic world. So obviously they brought these, they created this state of Israel, okay, for the purpose of taking advantage of the differences caused by the Illuminati. They're causing this. It's all by design. And that's the reason why they created it. They created it because they want to destroy the Jews. They don't like the Jews. I'm talking about the real Jews. That's why they want to get all the Jews over there. I mean, think about it. The whole Arabic world. You know, I mean, there are some Muslims and stuff and some Jews that actually live together in peace and stuff like that. I understand that. But on the whole, the whole of the radical Islamist world in the Middle East wants to destroy Israel. It's not just about Palestine and Israel. Now think about this for a moment. Why on earth, if that's the case, why would they, now I know God is on the throne, I believe he permitted this to happen, but why would a whole bunch of occultists want to gather all these Jews into this one little tiny spot of land where basically they're like on all sides wanting to come in on them? Okay? I mean, you gotta think about that. Because I'm sorry, because I mean, you got to think about it this way too. You look at Iran, whose allies are Russia, Syria, China. Those are some pretty Egypt, and these types of things. They, and China alone, they would aid Iran. And I believe that China has a bigger army than Israel. I know Israel's got a huge army, and they got like around 300 nuclear warheads and stuff like that. I understand that. But basically, when it comes to allies right now, well, quote-unquote allies, that's all being set up. America and Israel are like the main allies. Maybe Britain. Alright. But see, this is all by design. The war must be conducted in such a way that Islam, the Muslim Arabic world, and political Zionism, the state of Israel, mutually destroy each other. Meanwhile, the other nations, once more divided on this issue, which we have right now, okay, I am not divided. I am neutral. Will be constrained to fight to the point of complete physical, moral, spiritual, and economical exhaustion. Just like we have going on right now. We shall unleash the nihilist and the atheist. We shall provoke a formidable social cataclysm which in all its horror will show clearly to the nations the effects of absolute atheism, origin of savagery, and of the most bloody turmoil. Then everywhere the citizens obliged to defend themselves. See, the atheists ain't going to fare too well in this either, because eventually we're going to have to come to a new world religion, and you're going to have to believe in something. Obliged to defend themselves against a world minority of revolutionaries. World minority of revolutionaries? Doesn't that kind of sound like the illegal immigrants and stuff like that coming into America? And these types of things, like illegal radical Islamists and Mexicans and open borders and stuff like that, will exterminate those destroyers of civilization and the multitude disillusioned with Christianity, which we have a lot of that going on. There's a lot of Christians that are delusional, disillusioning, and the rest of the world's being disillusioned with this Christianity, and that's all by design too. Obviously, you got Christians that are Freemasons, whose deistic spirits will from that moment be without compass or direction, anxious for an ideal, but without knowing where to render its adoration, will receive the true light through the universal manifestation of the pure doctrine of Lucifer. That's the rise of the Antichrist, out of the ashes of World War III, brought finally out in public view. The manifestation will result from the general reactionary movement, which will follow the destruction of Christianity and atheism. See, they want to destroy atheism. Bible-believing Christianity, well, you know what? We're on God's side, and Jesus Christ wins, so right there, that's false. Both conquered and exterminated at the same time. Now, since the terrorist attacks of September 11, 2001, world events, and in particular in the Middle East, show a growing unrest and instability between modern Zionism and the Arabic world, this is completely in line with the call for a third world war to be fought between the two and their allies on both sides. This third world war is still to come, and recent events show us that it is not far off. And you know what? If something happens on the Olympics, this could very well be the linchpin that sets everything off. And also, we got this gun treaty going on too. Okay. So I went over that. Now, okay. A gesture to avoid. I'm not going to read all of this right here, but I'll read this portion. This is a Masonic symbol, by the way. As we've noted, the gesture made by touching the tips of the thumbs and index finger to form a circle with the remaining three fingers of the hand fanned out and pointing out may signify A-OK in the USA, but in other cultures the same gesture will certainly not meet with approval. In Brazil, Germany, and Russia, the signal is a supreme insult and vulgar, indicating a very private body orifice. In France, the sign portrays a person it is aimed at as being flunky or a zero. Basically, a worthless person when it is placed over the nose, it means he or she is drunk. In Japan, the same sign is used in commercial transactions to indicate you want the cashier to give you your change in coins rather than in currency. In Spain, in Eastern Europe, and in some parts of Latin America, the OK hand gesture is considered very rude. When then Vice President Nixon visited Brazil in the 50s, a crowd of onlookers became a rampaging mob after Nixon flashed from what he thought was the A-OK sign to them. Nixon was making an obscene gesture. Nixon's goodwill trip suddenly became a badwill trip. And there's more confusion abroad. In Arab countries, making a sign while shaking the hand symbolizes the giving of the evil eye. Keep that in mind. Perceived by Arabs as an event of great dread. It may be interpreted that you are putting a curse on the individual. Could it be that the Arab interpretation of the sign is exactly what the Illuminati intend in their performing it? Well, look at that. That's Robert Rubin, Secretary of the Treasury in the Bill Clinton administration. Also an American Statesman newspaper, May 16, 1999. Look at this. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Also, if you look at the fingers, 666. Alright? Oh, you're just being fanatical. Well, you know what? The hand gestures are important because a lot of this stuff is done through symbols. The hand gestures and everything like that. And according to the Arabs and stuff like that, that's a symbol of the evil eye. And obviously, you look at the back of the dollar bill, Illuminati and these types of things. Billy Graham's daughter, same thing. This drawing by an anonymous artist is very revealing. It's carefully crafted symbology. We see at top and bottom the Illuminati OK sign. Then mirrors the oval-shaped egg, the El Diablo devil's horns, and two dialectic birds. Right? There we go again. Roddy Doyle, popular Irish novelist. Same thing. Pat Robertson. He's a Mason, 33rd degree Freemason, luminous, Knight of Malta, and elite propagandist in the field of religion. Okay. George Bush. And his father. David Graham, FDA official in the Bush administration. You see right there. I mean, they all do it. Well, there's Arafat. Let me take you back up to Netanyahu. I really want you to see that there's no difference between these people. They're all working for the same event, even though they seem to oppose each other. Speaking of Palestine and Israel. Not only are hand signs important in the cult, but other features in the picture can also have a symbolic meaning. For instance, notice a book with an eagle on the cover, right here. Could the United States be the eagle? The caption just below mentions getting Russia on board. Notice, too, the title of the book, The Company We Keep. Is this a reference to the United States keeping company with Russia? Getting Russia on board? Who knows? So, Bill Clinton. Mad Monk. I mean, it's all over the place. There you go, Beatles. I mean, it goes on and on and on and on. I mean, this is an old one. A Hindu Swami and worshipper of the god Shiva in the San Margos sanctuary in Hawaii. He is accompanied by a strange paper idol and a brazen cobra idol. I mean, it's all over. Buddha displaying the left hand OK. Mudra, this drawing is from the Peter Dictionary of Symbols. That reference source explains it as an eye in the hand or God signifying God's creative wisdom. right there. And you got this too. Okay, so now we covered that. Now, John Hagee. I'm not going to read you this whole thing. Again, I will post a link below, and I advise you to read this for yourself and study it out. To increase his political power, Hagee formed Christian United for Israel, CUFI, on February 7, 2006. He has now obtained over 75,000 members. I believe this is a little older, so he's probably got more now. To this new Christ-denying cult. How can anyone who confessed Jesus as the Christ, the Son of the living God, belong to this Messiah-rejecting organization? It is a contradiction. Kufi, along with Hagee, work hand-in-hand with the American Israel Public Affairs Committee, a large Jewish organization that lobbies U.S. Congress on behalf of Israel. When one AIPAC member comes into a congressman's office, he or she represents 6 million Jews. When Hagee comes into a congressman's office, he claims he represents 40 million Americans. You can see why Hagee thinks his endorsement of Senator McCain for president was vitally important to McCain's presidential... let's see. Hagee thinks his endorsement of Senator McCain for president was vitally important to McCain's presidential win. Obviously, he didn't win, so this shows this is old. What is so shocking and shameful for John Hagee, even greater than his adultery and remarriage, is his new Jesus, a new gospel that denies Jesus was the Messiah of Israel. You want proof? Well, here we go. This is a quote from an excerpt of his book, In Defense of Israel. I am delighted to present my latest book, In Defense of Israel. This book will expose the sins of the fathers and the vicious abuse of the Jewish people. In Defense of Israel will shake Christian theology. It scripturally proves that the Jewish people as a whole did not reject Jesus as Messiah. We will get into that very clearly. That is very easily debunked. It will also prove that Jesus did not come to earth to be the Messiah. So he denies Jesus Christ as the Messiah. What does that make him? Antichrist. Or a Antichrist. It will prove that there was a cavalry conspiracy between Rome, the high priest, and Herod to execute Jesus. As an insurrection is too dangerous to live. Since Jesus refused by word and deed to claim to be the Messiah, how can the Jews be blamed for rejecting what was never offered? Read it in this shocking expose in defense of Israel. Well, you know what? That's a bunch of garbage. Paul preached in Jerusalem, and Peter preached in Jerusalem, and these types of things. And so, Hagee is not of God. Alright? Flat out. He is Antichrist. Now, you look at this right here. Christians United for Israel building an evangelical army to defend Zionism. Pastor John Hagee, founder of Christian United for Israel, has been at the forefront of pro-Zionist propaganda and integral in the building of an evangelical army ready to defend the agenda of the Zionist movement. Beginning today, Kufi is holding a 2-day conference to discuss critical decisions that are going to be made about Iran, Israel, and the world. Ooh. That ought to be interesting. Now I'm sure they probably already did this. Yeah, they did. This was from July 16th. And ain't it funny that, you know, they're holding a 2-day conference, and then right after this whole Colorado thing started, and now you got this satanic preparation, and then the 27th is this great climax, and you got the Olympics going on the 27th. And, you know, it just seems like there's a lot of things just being set up. Plus, not to mention, Syria is just a chaotic mess, you know, as they are supportive of the Obama administration false flag assertions that Iran is hiding a nuclear program that intends to procure or produce a nuclear weapon. And you know what? They might be, they might not be, you know. But it still doesn't give us to... We just need to have a balance, okay? Because the Israeli government is just as corrupt as possibly the Iranian government and like all Islam in general. So come on, folks. I mean, have some balance here. Especially when I just proved to you from his own mouth, from his own book, what he's saying. Okay. Okay. Now, I'll take you to a picture. Take this picture of a close-up, and I will show you something. It's the way he's shaking his hand. That's a Masonic handshake with Netanyahu. Okay. Just wanted to show you that. It's a Masonic handshake. So, with all that said, with all of this stuff, especially this, from their own news, okay? Now I'm going to get into some scripture. Zechariah 13:6 says, and going through to verse 9, and one shall say unto him, what are these wounds in thine hands? Then he shall answer, those with which I was wounded in the house of my friends. Jesus came to his own, and his own received him not. That's what the Bible says, talking about the Jews. Okay? Goes on to say further, awake, O sword, against my shepherd, and against the man that is my fellow, saith the Lord of hosts. Smite the shepherd, and the sheep shall be scattered. And I will turn my hand upon the little ones. Okay, well, the sheep have been scattered. And they still are scattered. They're not all over there. And it shall come to pass that in all the land, I don't believe it's just Israel here, but it says all the land, saith the Lord, 2 parts therein shall be cut off, and die. That's also speaking of the Jews. But the third shall be left therein. And I will bring the third part through the fire, and will refine them as silver is refined, and will try them as gold is tried. They shall call on my name, and I will hear them. I will say, it is my people, and they shall say, the Lord is my God. And when that happens, that's when the Jews finally realize they killed the Messiah, and they will scream out, blessed is he that cometh in the name of the Lord. And that is when both spiritual Israel, Gentiles grafted into the natural branches, the root, which is Jesus Christ, and the Jews that are regrafted into the root, which is Jesus Christ. Okay, that's when the Lord will say, it is my people, and they shall say, the Lord is my God, because God is not a respecter of persons. However, God is not done with the Jews. Just like in Zechariah 12:9. And it shall come to pass in that day that I will seek to destroy all the nations that come against Jerusalem. Now see, I'm running through all this negativity, and I'm trying to give some balance here. Unfortunately, 2/3 of them are going to be cut off and die. And I believe that are the apostate Jews that, are currently roaming the earth. And we'll get into that more. And it shall come to pass in that day that I will seek to destroy all the nations that come against Jerusalem. I don't think that's referencing World War III or any of these types of things. I think that's at the end of the tribulation. And I will pour upon the house of David and upon the inhabitants of Jerusalem the spirit of grace and of supplication. And they, who shall look upon me whom they have pierced. Now, you can go ahead and say, well, see, those are Romans. Well, you know what? We'll get into that in the next passage. Okay? And they shall mourn for him as one mourneth for his only son, and shall be in bitterness for him as one that is in bitterness for his firstborn. They're going to finally realize that they killed the Messiah, and they're finally going to realize who the Messiah is. But throughout this time, they're going to be going through the tribulation period, much like we are. Now, fast forward to Matthew 27, starting in verse 21. The governor answered and said unto them, whether of the twain will ye that I release unto you? They said, Barabbas. Okay. Pilate saith unto them, What shall I do then with Jesus, which is called Christ? They all say unto him, Let him be crucified. Okay, so their own actions, even if you speak it, even if you think it, you're guilty, is what Jesus says. And the governor said, Why? What evil hath he done? But they cried out the more, saying, Let him be crucified. When Pilate saw that he could prevail nothing, but that rather a tumult was made, he took water and washed his hands before the multitude, saying, I am innocent of the blood of this just person, see ye to it. Then answered all the people and said, His blood be on us and on our children. Well, you know what? That's like essentially, and that's carrying on to this day. Because yes, they have suffered affliction, and they have suffered grave persecution. Okay, so have many other people, but the emphasis is always on the Jews. I mean, you talk about anybody else that might have suffered in Nazi Germany too, they just shun them off like nothing. Just the Jews you have to worry about. I mean, come on. Yes, the Jews have been suffering persecution and affliction ever since His blood be on us and on our children. Well, they said it. They said it. So they're reaping what they're sowing. Then released he Barabbas unto them, and when he had scourged Jesus, he delivered him to be crucified. Now, Barabbas, okay, Chaldean origin, means son of Abba, Bar Abbas, okay, son of Abba. Abba means father. They released Barabbas unto them. Okay, so if you go to the definition, Barabbas equals son of a father or master. So they asked for Jesus to be crucified, the true son of the Father, and they chose the false son of the Father. There is no new thing under the sun. So as it was, so shall it be again. So could it be that they will accept the false son of the Father, Antichristos, Antichrist, okay, son of the Father? That's what Barabbas means. Now, for all of you racial people out there that like to say, oh, the blacks are Israelis, or this is, well, you know what? Then Peter opened his mouth and said, Of a truth, I perceive that God is no respecter of persons. What does persons mean? Okay. Prosopaliptus. Okay. An acceptor of a low face, or of a face, individual. That is specifically one exhibiting partiality, respecter of persons. You go to the definition, is an acceptor of persons, one who discriminates. God doesn't discriminate. Okay. Everyone is saying, oh, we're the true this, we're the true that. Well, you're discriminating against other people. So those that are claiming racism or whatever, you're actually the one that's saying it. Okay, because you're saying that God is a respecter of persons and He's not. Galatians 3:27 through 29. For as many of you as have been baptized unto Christ have put on Christ. There is neither Jew nor Greek, there is neither bond nor free, there is neither male nor female, for you are all one in Christ Jesus. And if you be Christ, then you be Abraham's seed and heirs according to the promise. Now, Revelation 2:9 says, and I believe this is in reference to the 2/3 that are going to be cut off and die. Okay? I know thy works and tribulations and poverty, but thou art rich, and I know the blasphemy of them which say they are Jews, and are not, but are the synagogue of Satan. And behold, I will make them of the synagogue of Satan, which say they are Jews, and are not, but do lie. Behold, I will make them to come and worship before thy feet, and to know that I have loved thee. Okay, so The Israeli government, the corrupt Israeli government, the apostate Jews, the Talmudic, Kabbalistic, worshiping Jews, well, they have to turn around and they have to accept Christ just like we do. And in regards to the minority resistance, as we spoke about the World War III, listen here in Isaiah 1:1. The vision of Isaiah, the son of Amos, which he saw concerning Judah and Jerusalem in the days of Uzziah, Jotham, Ahaz, and Hezekiah, king of Judah. Now, obviously, this was a prophecy to them, but as it says in the New Testament, we are to look at these things as an example to us of what happened to Israel when we fall short, okay, when we defile the land. Hear, O heavens, and give ear, O earth, for the Lord has spoken. I have nourished and brought up children, and they have rebelled against me. Okay. And the physicality is speaking of the Jews also. The ox knoweth his owner, and the ass his master's crib. But Israel doth not know, my people doth not consider. This also goes hand in hand with America too. Ah, sinful nation, a people laden with iniquity, a seed of evildoers, children that are corrupters. They have forsaken the Lord, they have provoked the Holy One of Israel unto anger. They are gone away backward. Why would you be stricken any more? You will revolt more and more. The whole head is sick, and the whole heart faint. From the sole of the foot, even unto the head, there is no soundness in it. But wounds and bruises and putrefying sores, they have not been closed, neither bound up, neither mollified with ointment. I mean, this is the first chapter of Isaiah, folks. Your country is desolate. Your cities are burned with fire. Your land, strangers, aliens, illegal aliens, illegal immigrants. That could be in reference to America too, folks. Devour it in your presence, and it is desolate, as overthrown by strangers. Now, according to what I showed you here, okay, what is Jerusalem? What is Israel? Well, let's just look. See, the Jerusalem that is here on earth is enslaved, it's in bondage, it's corrupt, but the one above is free. Revelation 11:8, and their dead bodies shall lie in the streets, speaking of the two witnesses, of the great city, which spiritually is called Sodom, well, what did I just show you? And Egypt, where also our Lord was crucified. Well, where was that? Jerusalem. I mean, sorry, this is what the Bible says. This is why the Bible is pretty much labeled as hate speech. So, but again, we must remember that the Jews are brought back in unbelief. But we also have to have a balance here. And we have to remember that the higher echelons of government, like Netanyahu and these types of things, they control that military. And it's just like the politicians over here. One is a Republican, one is a Democrat. They look like they're at odds with each other, but you know what? Behind the scenes, they are all in it together. It's the same thing with watching WWE wrestling, okay? You get a storyline. You get the good guy going up against the bad guy. They clash in the middle of the ring. After they get out of the ring, they go back to the locker room, and guess what? They're the best of buddies. It's the same thing. It's the same exact thing. Okay? So, again, regarding the Olympics, I thought this was interesting. I'm not saying for sure something's going to happen, but a lot of things are being played out that could very well be some kind of a false flag or whatever. But Grand Climax is the 27th of July, and the 20th due to 27th sacrifice preparations, and the 27th of July is when the Olympics do their opening ceremony. So this is something we can be in prayer about. I wanted to show these echelon of articles here just to kind of hopefully break you of that deception if you are in that deception. Okay, that is what I'm called to do. I'm called to warn of possible deception, that you might be deceived. And I'm not saying I'm any better. I am not above being deceived. I'm probably just, I'm deceived every day. There's things I learn every day that I thought I was right about. So But this is something that I've really been looking into, and we just got to remember that, you know, they all work together on the same side. They all want the common agenda, and the spiritual forces behind it is Satan himself, for we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against princes, against principalities, against powers, against rulers of the darkness, against wickedness, you know, of this age. Okay, so for the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty for the pulling down of strongholds. This is what I'm trying to do. Okay, so I hope this video, I'm sorry I went a little long. Okay, it's an hour long, but I hope this has helped you. All the links will be posted below. I will give you the scriptures as well, and that's all I got for now. So take care, God bless you, and thank you for watching. Bye bye.